So, in the age of games that we are in right now, there is a definite conversation about what is a remake and what is a remaster. And people get really confused on what the difference is because there's been such a blurred line between the two. But most of the time, they follow a certain ruling guideline that I believe is the guideline based off of games that have been released and how they have been named. There are sometimes rare exceptions to this rule, but I think this is how mainly it's broken down. Remasters are taking existing textures and up-resing them on a higher fidelity level. So taking that texture and up-resing it into from 720p to 1080p. Doing that and using the existing textures, models, and other assets and just resing those up, that is what I consider to be a remaster. Now, a remake is making the entire game from the ground up using none of the original assets. You can use the original assets to make sure that it matches, like making sure like you put grass in that area and that kind of thing. But the actual everything from that game is made from the ground up and is not utilizing up-resing textures or anything like that. It's making it from the ground up. And this game most definitely is a remake. Welcome to my review of Shadow of the Colossus. For all my reviews, this will be spoiler free, and not to worry about if you want to talk spoilers. I always have an accompanying video to my reviews on certain exceptions for certain games, but mostly we'll get an additional one called Spoiler Talk, and that you can look forward to another day. And in that spoiler talk, we can talk about anything and everything when it comes to that game. But because we are in the regular review section for this game, I ask that you leave your comments spoiler-free below. Now, first and foremost, I just have to say that this game is beautiful. I just was at awe of this game. Throughout the entire game, I was just at awe. It looked so beautiful, and I couldn't help but stop and look at everything that was around me throughout playing this game. And it just made me feel like this was one of the best remakes or remasters that I've ever seen. Obviously, it's going to be looking better than a remaster because a remake is making it from the ground up and using new assets, so you get better textures and things like that. But man, if I didn't know, I would think this was its own game, that it wasn't a remake of another game, because of just how well it's done so well. And I like the different options it gives you. If you have a PlayStation 4 Pro like myself, it offers up-res 4K, or you can do 1080p at 60 frames a second on the Pro, which was nice to have both options available to you. Now, for me and my playing experience, I actually started in the 4K resolution, up-res 4K, and then actually through I started to play with the settings a little bit about a little over midway through the game, and then I actually in the end used the 60 frames per second at 1080p, and I found that much more I felt like that was more it just worked better. It was a lot smoother. I guess it's really up to their own and seeing what people prefer. But for me, it just worked out a lot better for me going that method. So you can choose whatever method you want, and you can switch out of them freely anytime, just in the menu screen. It's really convenient. I really like it, and it's really noticeable. You can see the true difference between the two options. So it's not just like I don't know which one I want to do. No, there's a true difference, and you really eventually will have a preference. And it's just really nice to give you both options in the end. So the story is really extremely simple. And it doesn't explain a lot from the start. It's really taking context and moments and just trying to put the story together yourself, which has its goods and has its bads, and we'll talk about all that kind of stuff now. So, but you are, in the end, long story short, you are taking a woman on a horse to a temple, and she lays there at the temple, and the spirit says that to bring her to accomplish your goal and bring her back to life, you must defeat all 16 colossi. And so that's what you do. That's it. That's the whole premise. The whole premise is you destroying 16 colossi. Now, even though your character does not talk the entire game, except for there's a certain part when he calls his horse. It's a man and his horse, and so the horse is named Aggro, and that the only time you actually have him talk is when he calls for the horse's name, or if he gets hurt, he makes the sound, like that kind of thing. So, but you really start to feel the connection in the mission to save her, because these colossi are so epic, because they're so big. You really feel for the character and feel what is he willing to do to save her. And it shows just how much he loves her, which is a really interesting concept, but you really buy into it for him. You really start to cheer for him and he starts to become your hero, because it takes so much effort to kill one, not alone killing 16 colossi, and each one, and we'll talk about each in particular, each are very unique in the way you take them down, and it takes time to figure out how to defeat them. That by the end of it, you really truly understand how much he loves that woman, and you kind of feel for him and her at the same time, which was super impressive for a non-talking character with scenes that were so silent. It just worked. It was great. It was great. And it's just like the original game. And this, I want to say, in regards to remasters or remakes, this remake is rare. They changed barely anything from the original game. The only thing they changed in regards to possible difficulty levels, that kind of stuff. But the story, everything, all the scenes are exactly the same as in the original. So you can tell how much they didn't change the game. Now, for the things you do have to fight in the end to get there is the 16 colossi. And like I said before, each colossi is truly unique, and that battling each one is truly a process. And you kind of have to look how they attack you, and you never feel like, even if they might look slightly similar in form, not two colossi are the same in regards to how you tackle them down, where their weak points are, but they range in size. They truly do. One can be as massive as a city tower, and another one can be as big as a rhino. So it kind of gives you thought in how big these creatures, colossi, can be. And truly, by looking at them, they give the way that they are drawn together, and the way that they're created, and the way that they look, you truly feel like they are a true mythical beast and not just an animal. Like they truly are majestic in some way, which is really awesome, because like I said, the atmosphere is so great in this game that this is just another block building that house of this game. So during the fight, really honestly, the fighting mechanic is just killing the colossi. But how you do it, it's a very simple concept, but just how to do it is a true puzzle. So killing the colossi is very simple, in which you climb on them, you stab them in a certain location that is signified by a glowing tattoo, and then once you get so many stabbed in, they die. Now, there are two kind of main components to beating the colossi. One is how to get on them so you can climb them. That's one of the things. You must do a certain action or have them perform a certain action, and it's truly kind of feeling it out as you are kind of it's a trial and error, but not to the point where you're dying and have to restart again. It's a trial and error it's more of like seeing how they react to how you are interacting with them. And the second component is how you climb them, and the climb mechanic itself, because you can't hang on all day long. There is a limit to your climbing, and so you have to be smart and strategic. And so finding the way, like I said, getting the colossi is very interesting. It's very different for each one, and it makes great use of environmental and introduces new things that you didn't know your character could do, and not being aware that you couldn't do at the time, which was very nice. It's a way of progressing, yet not telling you how to progress, but yet introducing them to the point where they are teaching you it, but they're not telling it to you to your face, which is really smart. Great game mechanic overall. Games don't do that enough, I don't believe. And this is just the one that really does it really, really well. And you can get stuck. I'll admit it. You can get really, really stuck. And it does a great job of giving you a hint, and it doesn't give it to you right away. It does allow you to take the time to try to figure out, and then be able to give you that hint that might help you figure out what to do. But it doesn't tell you truly explicitly what to do. It gives you a good hint that feels like you still are thinking and being able to try to figure it out for yourself. Now, like I said, the other part of the grip is you can't hold on forever. There is a grip gauge on there that you can only hold and stab its weak areas. And when you stab, it will try to shake you off. And so your grip meter is going to drop faster when they're shaking you, because it takes more strength to hang on to the colossi. So it's a true it's true in regards to how of a strategy. So you can, like, there's certain areas where you can just stand on the colossi without having to grip onto them. So it's about gripping, climbing to that area, stabbing in that area, kind of climbing back to that area, let go of your grip, recharge your grip a little bit for a second, and then you can go climb and try again. Or sometimes they truly do fly you off and you have to reclimb them again, which is understandable. Once you figure out how to climb them, it doesn't take that long of a process to climb them, or to get them to do what they need to do for you to climb them. So that's what I appreciate. At least once you figure it out, it's a pretty fast process. Now, the original gauge did have the gauge, and it ran low quite quickly. I remember playing this game when it came out for the PS2, that the gauge did drop pretty quick, and it made battles pretty hard and pretty frustrating. And I can say right now, I felt like they did change the gauge to where it's not dropping as fast as it used to, and where it became a little bit easier, but I think it leaves it more accessible to all players, and I think it wasn't too easy to the point where I felt like I was not getting a challenge on it, because I feel like the grip gauge is not the point of the challenge. I think the point of the challenge is figuring out how to climb the colossus and figuring out where to stab it, and how to get there, and how to strategically move yourself around. It's not oh crap, my grip gauge keeps dropping all the way down. So now, how do you find them? Like that's a huge question overall. It's like you find the locations are huge. It's an entire map. And to fight each one, the Colossus is located. They give you a riddle first, or a clue of kind of where they're located. But the other thing that helps you is this magical sword that you took along with you when you came up horseback riding with the woman. And the sword, if you hold it up to the light, if you hold it up to the sun or any kind of light source, it'll reflect light. And it will kind of spread out, but then once you turn it towards the area that you're supposed to go, the sunlight kind of narrows into one stream of light, and it points basically you right in that direction, and you just need to go in that direction. Now, as long as you have direct sunlight, you're able to raise your sword whenever you want to be able to kind of check where you're going. It's not marked on any kind of map. That is up to you to be able to figure it out for yourself. And the only issue with that was there was just one time, where I could not tell where I needed to go. It was really extremely frustrating for me, because it was very minor, but it was just the turning. It was pointing me in a direction that led me somewhere completely where I wasn't supposed to go, because actually I had to go completely around the area I was supposed to go. Like it leads you to the straightest point. So it doesn't take for account if there's like a mountain in your way or if there's a path in your way. So I accidentally went down a path that led to a dead end when I should have went around that entire path the whole time from the outside. And so I just was getting really frustrated because I couldn't figure out where it was telling me to go. And so that was the only thing, and it was only one time, and I feel like it won't happen to every player. I think it will only happen to some players and not every single player. But I do have to like give it its really great aroma of experience, and it's just how quiet everything is, how beautiful that is, and how the world feels so abandoned, and your place in this world of colossi. It's pure intimacy. It really is. Of you and your horse traveling around the world, and it was so rewarding, because when you get later in the game, when there's certain moments that happen, and we'll get to them in the spoiler talk, don't worry, they are moments that are truly worth the time that you did throughout the entire game. And this world is so barren and quiet, and it makes it truly feel like your only goal is to finish these colossi. You don't need no side missions, because you don't care about the side missions. You care about saving the one you love, and that's another thing that just sets the moment. And these colossi are all over this world, and so when there are moments of, there's not very many moments where you find plants and animals of like that are alive, and when you get those moments are so calming and soothing. And yet when you get into these barren wastelands, the environments are so great in this game, and just set up a world, a true world that you want to just be in all the time. I do have to say they do offer a different control scheme, because I know in the original game the control scheme was a little awkward for players, and so you can change to the original control scheme, or you can use a newer control scheme that's based off current kind of generation of playing games. An example, I think the jump button is on the X button for the modern controls, but the original game, it's actually the triangle button. So, and you can kind of choose the way you want to do it. You can change it whenever you want. Now, the ending was really fast. The ending itself, it reveals a lot of information really quick, while having your actions that you made throughout the game, it really takes shape in the end. It really does. But when it leaves you, it just leaves you with so many questions and not very many answers. And I can't really say any more on it, because I mean, you should play this game and then figure it out. But I just wish that there was more from the world and being expressed enough, how these colossi got here, of how certain things happened at the end, explaining an explanation of why, or maybe leading up to it, more foreshadowing. Or there are just moments in the game that it didn't have momentum in regards to moving the story as quickly. Everything just got pushed to the end. It just moved so fast at the last 15 minutes. It just all moved so quickly, but it just didn't really work as well, because if people that are really centric on story-driven gaming, I feel like they would have more appreciation, would not appreciate this game very much, due to the fact that there isn't much in regards to story motivators until about halfway through the game. There's one slight cutscene that happens, but it doesn't change anything. It really doesn't happen until the very end of the game, and it's a little disappointing, because you kind of want something in the middle that's going to hook the player to make sure that they want to continue farther. Not just that these colossi by themselves stand out really well, but for this amazing world, people just want to know more. And especially with these with the games that have been developed by Team Ico, they don't reveal much in their worlds, which is a little frustrating for me as a person that I enjoy these worlds, would like to learn more, especially about these colossi. How'd they come to be? Why are they so special? What is the spirit you're talking to? These questions don't even get answered, unfortunately, but they just leave you with so many more questions, and I wish they had more answers for you, or ways to find those answers in the game through different tablets or something like that got left, or things like that. But anyways, the studio that has made it was Bluepoint, and I want to say that they have done so many remasters throughout their history, and this one truly shows off what skills they have and on this generation of hardware. And if I was Sony right now and I had the big bucks to hand out, I would be talking to them right now saying, what is your ambition? What is the new project that you want to do, that if you had the resources backing from us, what would you want to make? I would give it to them. I, as Sony, would want to be involved in their process, because they have had this one is truly a great remake, where they showed off their skills to being innovators in different areas in regards to the game looks fantastic. One of the best looking games on the console. They were able to stay with the game, yet modernize it a tiny bit in regards to control schemes and different things like that, to help make it a little bit better for players to play, which is great. and I just would want to be on their next project because I think that this team might have more to show than people are giving them credit for. So that is my review for Shadow. I recommend you pick this one up if you have not played Shadow of the Colossus. It's one of those games that truly people should go out and play. It's a great game from their lineup. Even though this game came out many years ago on the PS2, this game still stands out in this time frame with this remake. It still stands out as one of the best games of this year. Even though it technically has already came out years ago, it still holds its own. So, what do you think about the game? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this content, check out the other content I have here on Freeze Frame Rate, where you can give them a thumbs up, you can like the videos, and if you want to keep up with the content I make each and every week here on Freeze Frame Rate, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. My name is Mitch. I'm signing off, saying see you soon.